Can a leader preach economic fairness while living in multi-million-dollar luxury? Barack and Michelle Obama built their image on advocating for the middle class. Yet their new $18 million Hawaii estate raises questions about whether their lifestyle contradicts their message. Does financial success weaken their credibility? Can they still relate to working-class struggles? And does this latest purchase hint at a deeper shift in their personal or political future? Let's get answers to all these questions in detail. Luxury real estate purchases by high-profile figures are nothing new, but when a former president and first lady known for their strong advocacy on economic fairness acquire an $18 million estate, it raises questions. Barack and Michelle Obama's latest property purchase in Hawaii has not only caught public attention due to its price, but also because of its symbolic contradiction. The couple, who once championed the struggles of working-class Americans, now own multiple homes worth millions, creating an interesting contrast between their words and actions. Their newly acquired estate sits in the upscale area of Waimanalo on the island of Oahu, a region known for its exclusivity, stunning ocean views, and sprawling beachfront properties. The residence is reported to have been developed on land that was once home to a historic Hawaiian fish pond, an area with cultural significance. This particular purchase has fueled discussions about how former presidents transition into post-office life, particularly those who position themselves as advocates for economic equality. For years, Michelle Obama has been one of the most vocal figures on wealth disparity and the need for a fairer economic system. During the Democratic National Convention, she delivered a speech that was widely regarded as a defining moment in her public career. She spoke about the values she and Barack Obama were raised with, values that included skepticism toward those who amass excessive wealth while others struggle. She emphasized that true leadership means ensuring not just personal success but the well-being of those around you. Those words resonated deeply with many Americans, reinforcing the image of the Obamas as a family that understood the economic hardships faced by middle and working-class citizens. However, the reality of their post-presidency lifestyle presents a stark contrast. Since leaving the White House, the Obamas have built a significant real estate portfolio, purchasing homes in some of the most prestigious locations in the country. Their first major acquisition was a stunning $8 million mansion in Washington, D.C., situated in the upscale Kalorama neighborhood. This was followed by an even more extravagant purchase, a $12 million estate on Martha's Vineyard, a location known for its affluent residents and exclusive nature. The recent $18 million Hawaii property only adds to this growing portfolio. While no one denies that former presidents often accumulate wealth after leaving office, the concern arises when their choices seem to contradict the ideals they once promoted. When Michelle Obama urged Americans to remain skeptical of those who take too much, she positioned herself as someone deeply in touch with the struggles of average citizens. Now, as the Obamas expand their personal wealth through high-value properties, it raises a difficult question. How do these actions align with the principles they once championed? One might argue that financial success does not automatically undermine a person's credibility. But when public figures repeatedly advocate for economic equality while privately securing multi-million-dollar estates, it creates a narrative of inconsistency. This contradiction becomes even more pronounced when examining how the Obamas have spoken about privilege, systemic barriers, and wealth redistribution. For many, their lifestyle now resembles that of the very individuals they once encouraged the public to scrutinize. Beyond the financial aspect, another point of discussion surrounding this Hawaii property is its strategic nature. Unlike their other homes, this one offers a greater level of privacy and isolation. The estate is built in an area known for its exclusivity, with fewer public eyes and a natural barrier between the residents and the outside world. This level of privacy has led some to question whether this purchase was influenced by growing media speculation about the state of the Obamas' marriage. Recent reports have suggested that Michelle Obama has been spending increasing amounts of time in Hawaii, often apart from Barack Obama. The former First Lady was noticeably absent from some high-profile events, including President Jimmy Carter's funeral, fueling speculation about the dynamics within the Obama household. While there has been no official statement regarding their relationship, the timing of this property purchase has led to various interpretations. Is this home meant to serve as a retreat from public scrutiny, Or is it a reflection of a new stage in their personal lives? Real estate decisions, particularly those made by public figures, are rarely just about the homes themselves. They often symbolize shifts in lifestyle, career focus, or personal priorities. In the case of the Obamas, this property marks yet another expansion of their real estate holdings, further distancing them from the image of the relatable middle-class family they cultivated during their years in the White House. While their financial success is not inherently an issue, it does prompt a necessary discussion about how former leaders balance their public messaging with their private decisions. Should individuals who emphasize wealth inequality be held to a different standard when they accumulate significant personal wealth? Does financial success inherently erode the credibility of political figures who once positioned themselves as advocates for economic fairness? These are the questions that continue to surface as the Obamas settle into their new, luxurious Hawaii retreat. Expanding their real estate portfolio is not unusual for former presidents, but the scrutiny that follows such decisions is inevitable, particularly when their public image is built around themes of fairness and economic equality. The purchase of an $18 million estate in Hawaii is not just another addition to the Obamas' list of properties. It is a decision that raises fundamental questions about how political figures transition from office to private life. The public's perception of the Obamas has always been tied to their advocacy for middle-class Americans, making their increasing wealth a subject of national discussion. Michelle Obama's words at the Democratic National Convention still resonate with many. She spoke passionately about the values instilled in her by her parents, the belief that wealth should be used responsibly, that excessive personal gain should be viewed with skepticism, and that true success is measured not just by personal prosperity, but by the well-being of those around you. These principles played a significant role in shaping the Obama brand, painting a picture of a couple deeply connected to the struggles of everyday Americans. Yet over the years, their lifestyle has evolved in a way that some argue contradicts this message. Beyond the Hawaii estate, their Martha's Vineyard property spans 30 acres and cost them $12 million. Their Washington, D.C. home, valued at $8 million, sits in one of the most affluent neighborhoods in the capital. When examined collectively, these purchases shift the conversation from simple financial success to whether these acquisitions align with the principles they have publicly endorsed. For many, this is not just about money, it is about credibility. Can someone who speaks out against wealth inequality comfortably settle into the upper echelons of society without raising concerns? It is a challenge that public figures from both political spectrums have faced. Bill and Hillary Clinton, for example, transitioned from the White House to a series of lucrative speaking engagements and book deals, earning millions in the process. The same has been observed with George W. Bush, whose post-presidency years have been marked by investments in private business ventures. However, the distinction with the Obamas lies in the messaging. Their rise to prominence was largely based on their relatability, their ability to connect with everyday Americans, and their critique of systemic inequalities. Supporters argue that financial success does not diminish their ability to advocate for progressive values. They see their wealth accumulation as an example of the American dream, a testament to what can be achieved through hard work and determination. They also highlight the charitable work the Obamas have engaged in, emphasizing that wealth itself is not inherently contradictory to their message. Critics, however, point out that when leaders who promote economic equality enter the elite class, it risks alienating those who once saw them as representatives of their struggles. This is not the first time the Obamas have faced scrutiny for decisions that appear to contradict their messaging. Their advocacy for public schools, for example, was a significant part of their educational policies during Barack Obama's presidency. Yet, both of their daughters attended Sidwell Friends, an elite private school in Washington, D.C. This choice was understandable from a security and privacy standpoint, but it still stood in contrast to their push for strengthening public education and their criticism of school voucher programs. Similarly, Barack Obama's 60th birthday party in the summer of 2021 became a point of contention. The event, held at their Martha's Vineyard estate, was a large-scale gathering at a time when pandemic restrictions were still affecting public events across the country. Photos from the celebration showed Barack Obama and other high-profile guests without masks, while the catering and event staff were required to wear them. This fueled accusations of double standards as the public was expected to adhere to strict health protocols, while political elites seemingly operated under different rules. The Hawaii estate purchase fits into this broader pattern of decisions that have sparked debate about the balance between personal lifestyle and public advocacy. The location itself offers an unprecedented level of privacy, raising questions about whether the Obamas are retreating from public life or preparing for a new phase. Reports suggest that Michelle Obama has been spending increasing amounts of time in Hawaii, sometimes without Barack Obama. This, coupled with her absence from certain major events, has fueled speculation about the state of their marriage. While there has been no official confirmation regarding any marital issues, the timing of this purchase has not gone unnoticed. Large property acquisitions often signal shifts in personal or professional priorities. Whether this home serves as a retreat, a strategic investment, or a response to ongoing speculation, it remains a topic of discussion. Ultimately, the debate surrounding the Obamas' financial choices is not just about them. It is about the broader conversation on political figures, post-office wealth, and public accountability. Should former leaders be held to a different standard when it comes to wealth accumulation? Does financial success inherently undermine their advocacy for economic fairness? Or is it simply a reality of modern political life? These are the questions that persist as the Obamas settle into their newest residence in Hawaii. Public scrutiny of high-profile figures does not emerge in a vacuum. It is shaped by patterns, choices, and the broader narratives that these figures cultivate over time. In the case of Barack and Michelle Obama, their rise to prominence was built on a carefully crafted image, one that resonated deeply with the American people. They were seen as a couple who understood economic struggles firsthand, who embodied the promise of opportunity, and who advocated for fairness in a society marked by deep financial divides. Their messaging, particularly during their time in the White House, was centered on the importance of shared prosperity, responsible financial practices, and ensuring that economic opportunities were not concentrated in the hands of a privileged few. Yet, as their post-presidency years unfold, the stark contrast between their rhetoric and their personal financial trajectory has become increasingly difficult to ignore. The accumulation of multi-million-dollar properties, high-profile business deals, and exclusive lifestyle choices places them firmly in the category of the very elite they once encouraged Americans to be skeptical of. This shift has fueled questions about whether their advocacy for economic equality was always genuine, or if it was simply a means to build a political brand that resonated with the public. A key aspect of this discussion revolves around how former presidents capitalize on their influence once they leave office. Barack Obama, like many of his predecessors, has engaged in a series of lucrative post-presidency endeavors. His book deals, which have collectively earned him and Michelle Obama tens of millions of dollars, are among the most profitable ever secured by a former U.S. president. Their production partnership with Netflix has also been a major source of revenue, allowing them to continue shaping public discourse while solidifying their status as global influencers. While there is nothing inherently wrong with leveraging one's platform for financial gain, it does create an interesting dynamic when considering the values they once championed. Political figures often face scrutiny when their post-office ventures appear to prioritize personal enrichment over public service. For instance, Bill and Hillary Clinton encountered significant criticism for their high-paid speeches to Wall Street executives, a move that many saw as contradictory to their public stance on economic fairness. Similarly, Barack Obama's speaking engagements, some of which have reportedly paid him hundreds of thousands of dollars per appearance, raise questions about whether his advocacy for working-class Americans remains at the core of his priorities. The criticism surrounding these financial decisions is not solely about wealth itself, but about the broader implications of power, influence, and credibility. When a public figure who once spoke against unchecked corporate interests begins engaging in business dealings that resemble those of the financial elite, it risks eroding the trust that supporters placed in them. This is particularly relevant in the case of Michelle Obama, who has been one of the most vocal figures on issues of privilege, systemic inequality, and responsible leadership. Her Democratic National Convention speech remains one of the defining moments of her career, particularly the section in which she emphasized that real leadership means ensuring that prosperity is not hoarded by a select few while others struggle. These words struck a chord with many Americans who saw her as a leader willing to speak truth to power. However, when juxtaposed with the reality of her family's expanding real estate empire and their increasing integration into the financial elite, the message becomes more difficult to reconcile. Beyond financial contradictions, another layer of scrutiny emerges when examining the implications of their most recent purchase in Hawaii. While the acquisition itself is not unusual for someone of their financial standing, the timing and circumstances surrounding it have fueled additional speculation. Michelle Obama's frequent presence in Hawaii, often without Barack Obama, has led to ongoing rumors about potential strains in their marriage. These rumors gained traction after she was notably absent from several major public events, including President Jimmy Carter's funeral. Though neither Barack nor Michelle Obama has publicly addressed these speculations in detail, the media attention surrounding them has only intensified. Some have interpreted the Hawaii estate purchase as a strategic move to secure a private retreat away from the spotlight, a place where they can maintain a level of separation from public scrutiny. Others have suggested that it represents a larger shift in their personal lives, one that may signal a transition into different chapters of their individual pursuits. Regardless of the reasons behind the purchase, what remains clear is that it has added another dimension to the conversation surrounding the Obamas' evolving post-presidency life. Their transition from the White House to the world of high-profile business deals, luxury real estate, and elite social circles reflects a broader pattern among former leaders who enter the private sector after leaving office. However, the degree to which these transitions align with the values they once stood for is what determines how they are perceived by the public. This is not merely about a single property acquisition or an isolated financial decision. It is about the broader issue of whether political figures should be held accountable for maintaining consistency between their public messaging and their private choices, as discussions surrounding wealth inequality continue to shape political discourse. The actions of those who have positioned themselves as champions of economic fairness will remain under scrutiny. Public perception of political figures is shaped not only by their policies and public speeches, but also by the choices they make in their private lives. In the case of Barack and Michelle Obama, their post-presidency years have been marked by significant financial growth, raising important questions about the intersection of wealth, influence, and credibility. While it is common for former presidents to engage in lucrative opportunities after leaving office, the discussion surrounding the Obamas' lifestyle is unique because of the strong emphasis they once placed on economic equality and the values of modesty and fairness. One of the most compelling aspects of this debate is the growing disconnect between public expectations and the realities of political life. Many Americans who supported the Obamas did so because they saw them as representatives of the working class, as individuals who understood the challenges faced by ordinary families. The messaging during both of Barack Obama's presidential campaigns reinforced this narrative, positioning them as advocates for policies that would level the economic playing field. However, as their wealth and real estate acquisitions continue to expand, it becomes increasingly difficult for some to see them as part of the same struggle they once championed. The purchase of their $18 million estate in Hawaii serves as a case study in how political figures navigate public scrutiny. The decision to acquire such a high-profile property in an exclusive area comes at a time when conversations about wealth inequality are at the forefront of national discourse. While the Obamas have not publicly addressed the concerns surrounding their growing wealth, the optics of this purchase are significant. A beachfront property of this magnitude is a symbol of affluence, a far cry from the working-class values they so often invoke during their time in public office. This raises an important question. Should former leaders be held to a different standard when it comes to personal wealth? Some argue that once a president leaves office, they have the right to build their financial portfolio just like anyone else. Others believe that if a political figure spends years advocating for wealth redistribution and economic fairness, their post-office decisions should reflect those principles. The Obamas, whether intentionally or not, have positioned themselves as leaders who care deeply about systemic inequalities. This makes their financial decisions subject to greater scrutiny than those of other former presidents who did not place the same emphasis on these issues. This scrutiny extends beyond their real estate investments. The way the Obamas have engaged in post-presidency ventures also plays a role in shaping public perception. Their Netflix partnership, their multi-million-dollar book deals, and their paid speaking engagements have all contributed to the debate over whether they are staying true to their core values or simply capitalizing on their status as global figures. While there is nothing inherently wrong with financial success, the concern arises when public figures accumulate extreme wealth while simultaneously advocating for policies that discourage economic disparity. Another factor contributing to the ongoing conversation is the increasing divide between political leaders and the public they serve. Over the past few decades, there has been a growing sense that those in positions of power, regardless of party affiliation, operate in a separate reality from the people they represent. The Obamas' post-presidency choices, particularly their real estate acquisitions, feed into this broader sentiment that political elites often live by a different set of rules. This is not a challenge unique to them. Many former presidents have faced similar criticisms. However, the contrast between the Obamas' messaging and their actions makes this discussion particularly relevant. Adding to the complexity of this issue is the role of media coverage in shaping narratives around political figures. The way the Obamas' wealth has been reported varies significantly depending on the source. Some outlets have framed their success as an inspiring example of the American dream, while others have questioned whether their financial trajectory aligns with the principles they once championed. This discrepancy in coverage highlights the broader issue of media bias and the way it influences public perception. Public figures are often judged not just by what they say, but by how consistently their actions align with their words. The debate surrounding the Obamas' wealth is a reflection of a larger conversation about the expectations placed on leaders who claim to represent the interests of the working class. While some view their financial success as a natural progression, others see it as a contradiction that warrants further examination. Ultimately, this discussion is about more than just one real estate purchase or one political figure. It is about the broader implications of wealth accumulation in politics and the expectations placed on those who advocate for economic fairness. As the Obamas continue to navigate their post-presidency years, their choices will remain a topic of discussion, shaping how they are remembered in the years to come. As the discussion surrounding the Obamas' post-presidency lifestyle continues, it reflects a broader debate about the intersection of political influence, wealth accumulation, and public accountability. The purchase of their $18 million estate in Hawaii is not an isolated event, but part of a larger trend in which former leaders transition from public service to private affluence. For some, this is a natural progression, a reward for years of dedication to public office. For others, it raises concerns about how power and privilege can create a divide between political figures and the citizens they once represented. Public trust in political leadership is often built on relatability and shared experiences. The Obamas' ability to connect with everyday Americans was one of their defining strengths during their time in the White House. They framed themselves as a family that understood economic struggles, a couple that valued hard work and fairness, and leaders committed to addressing income inequality. Yet their evolving lifestyle, one marked by high-value property acquisitions, lucrative corporate partnerships, and an increasingly elite social circle, raises the question of whether they can still claim to understand the challenges of ordinary Americans. This is not to suggest that financial success is inherently problematic. Many former presidents have secured financial stability through book deals, public speaking engagements, and private business ventures. However, when a political figure's career is built on advocating for economic fairness, their personal financial choices are inevitably subject to scrutiny. The challenge lies in balancing personal success with the values they have publicly championed. For the Obamas, the timing of their Hawaii estate purchase has only intensified speculation. Michelle Obama's extended stays in Hawaii and her absence from certain high-profile events have fueled discussions about whether this property signals a shift in their personal or professional lives. While no official statements have addressed these rumors directly, the nature of high-profile real estate acquisitions often carries symbolic weight. Whether intended or not, The purchase of this estate has become part of a larger narrative about their post-presidency priorities. Beyond their personal choices, the Obamas' financial trajectory also speaks to a wider issue within modern politics. The growing wealth gap between political elites and the general public contributes to increasing disillusionment with the political system. Voters are often asked to trust leaders who speak on behalf of the middle class while enjoying lifestyles that are far removed from the realities of the people they represent. This disconnect is not unique to the Obamas, but their case highlights the tensions that arise when progressive leaders embrace financial success. The role of the media in shaping these perceptions cannot be overlooked. Coverage of the Obamas' wealth varies dramatically depending on the source. Some outlets frame their success as a positive example of American ambition, while others question whether their financial decisions align with their messaging on economic fairness. This inconsistency in media narratives further complicates public understanding of the issue, making it difficult for audiences to form an unbiased perspective. Ultimately, the debate over the Obamas' wealth is not about whether they have the right to financial success. It is about the expectations placed on public figures who advocate for policies that challenge wealth concentration. Can a leader remain a credible advocate for economic fairness while living in luxury? Can political figures ever truly separate their public messages from their personal financial choices? These are the questions that continue to shape the conversation. As the Obamas settle into their newest estate, they remain symbols of a broader discussion about leadership, privilege, and the evolving role of former presidents in modern society. Their financial success may not diminish their ability to influence political discourse, but it does challenge the perception of them as figures deeply connected to the struggles of everyday Americans. How they choose to navigate this reality in the years ahead will ultimately determine how their legacy is remembered. With that, we have reached the end of today's video. If you have come this far with us, be sure to check out other videos on our channel.